Hello people, and welcome back to another episode of City Skylines Modular Builds. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And thank you for all the kind comments, support, and feedback on the last modular build. And you guys really enjoyed the Courthouse Plaza. It's a really special combination of unique assets and little bits of zoning. I think it comes together really nicely. And yeah, especially with the campus building in the background here too. That really adds a different level, a different kind of spice, you know. But yeah, thanks for supporting it. Really appreciate it. And today's modular build is going to be involving trams as well, actually. We're going to do some nice little kind of park, tram, green cities, high-density residential themes that comes together to form a really nice kind of aesthetic. So, of course, for this, we are going to want a tram line. You can tether this onto an existing tram system, or you can use this as an excuse to start a new one. It really is kind of up to you. So, first of all, we're going to be using the tram tracks. Just the tram-only roads, we're not going to be using the ones that accept cars as well. I guess we'll just kind of come from this point out here. So we're going to draw it out by a distance of 40 tiles right here. Okay. And now really this is kind of a template that's very adaptable. You can take it in a variety of different shapes. You can leave the tram lines to stop here. You can split off into a couple of little one-way tracks. Kind of as so. And then kind of bring them down in a fashion like this and then together and carry on. So however you want the tram stops to formulate around, you can do a variety of different ones, but I'll run over kind of some of my preferred methods and designs as we move through kind of this build today, of course. So before we draw anything in around this tram line, we want to make sure that we actually place in the tram line first, because we're going to be centralizing all of the decoration around where the trams actually stop. So I'm just going to say, for example, let's draw in this tram line right here. And then we'll have two ones there. And then we can bring these in well. So we want to be opposite each other. And now we know where the trams are going to stop, we can begin to kind of centralize all of our decoration around them. And also around this one as well. And whatever other kind of shape and pattern you take your tram lines in. Okay. Super. So then we're going to come into our roads. We're going to grab any kind of small road. It doesn't matter which one you want to go for. Trees or grass is fine. Yeah, whichever one you want really. And then we want to be drawing out a distance of 4 tiles between the tram line, or between the tram track and the road. So we have these 4 tiles in between. And then we want to just come out by same distance each side. And of course, we want to draw ourselves out a district and give it the green city specialization for both commercial and residential. If you don't have the green cities, this still will work. You can just use regular high density residential and commercial. It won't really make that much of a difference. This is what we'll be looking like so far. So we'll start allowing these trams to move through here. And of course, don't forget to connect this road network into an existing part of your city so people can actually travel to this. Now we're going to kind of see this tram line starting to get centralized now, and we'll develop some really nice things around this. So now that we know where our trams are going to stop, we can start to draw in some pathways to take people from road to road. So I'm going to draw out here by a distance of 1600, or 160 rather, not 1600. And then we can see we have that 4 tiles left between here. And then we'll repeat the same thing on this side too. So this will allow people to move through. So where I was talking about introducing some of our own kind of trees and decoration here, where we have these little kind of torn textures between the tram road and the path, the perfect opportunity to come through with our own trees. And any type of tree, whatever kind of aesthetic you're going for in your city, you can come up with a couple of different designs, and it doesn't have to be trees either. Use some of the park life hedges, even some of the park life tables if you like, but decorate your tram stops, you know. This is something that we do in Palaven, and it really just helps kind of accentuate where the tram is actually stopping. We've even got someone waiting here now as well, which is nice, even though there's nothing around here yet. I think I've heard just a walk, surely. Okay, let's go ahead now and grab our fences, and we'll just kind of run over how we're going to decorate the tram line. So where the tram line doesn't have a path connection, I always like to kind of draw in a park fence up alongside it. This is just a regular park fence, but of course any park fence will work. And then I'm just going to come down to the edge of each of these tiles. Just want to make sure we're enough distance away to not shatter the path. And then just bring them down like this. So you can kind of see the format here of decorating all these little tram tracks and tram lines with fence, just how much of a difference it makes, you know? Making little dedicated micro detailed tram stops like this. And we'll do this at a couple of different points using various different combinations as we kind of come to each of these tram lines. So I hope that makes sense as to how this is like super adaptable. You can take it in any pattern, any design that you like. And we'll now begin to surround it with some of the Green City stuff. So against the roads on the outside tiles here, this is where I'm going to come and swing by with some regular high density residential. And then I'm also going to come through with a road as well. Let's come for all our snapping on while we're drawing roads out, of course. Maybe not road guideline there. There we go. So let's just come out by another 10 right here. Again, more opportunities for some of that zoning. Keep it quite random, different shapes and sizes, you know. If you do want to go very uniform and generate the same asset, then of course you can. But a little bit of variation is always nice as well. I'll swing through with plot the globals. So in terms of the spacing on the inside next to the tram track, this is a really nice way to actually bring off some roads just on your angle tool. So if we come through right here, I want to bring road through from this way. I just go into my angle and get it as close to the tram track as I can without actually snapping onto it. And then again, this leaves us more opportunities for some zoning. Getting in here, and this will help decorate right up against the side of the tram line as well. You can kind of see how we're going to formulate a green cities area or a regular high density residential area if you're not using green cities all around this kind of park here. Okay. And I'm going to do something similar here again as well. I'm going to come out as far as I can, and then this time I'm going to come across. And that leaves me some rather strange type zonings, but we can do some nice things here. Come through the 4x4, and then where you have these awkward spaces that you haven't filled in with zoning or you don't want to decorate with trees, it's a fantastic opportunity to come through and use some of the park life assets right up against the road and start to kind of flesh out everything around the tram stop. Okay, fantastic. So we'll now begin to kind of take all of our roads up to the next kind of tram station, if you like. And we'll discuss some designs around that. Also, good opportunity here to introduce some service buildings, of course. Let's do our little angle trick again, come as close as we can. There we go. And the med clinic actually works really nicely here, if it's an asset that you want to use. Again, everything's just formulating around the central tram line right now. Hopefully this is kind of coming together in a way that makes sense. It's a super customizable design. You can plot many different themes around it. You can take this high density commercial if you want and stick it within like a downtown atmosphere. Or indeed you can keep it as green cities and use low density residential and maybe just kind of condense everything in a little bit. But this is kind of the design, you know, formulating all these little tiny off-roads around various different kind of building assets and whatnot. There's really an endless combination of designs that we can put together. So I'm going to go ahead and join my fences up alongside here, and then open up some of them so we can kind of cut through at different angles. And then we'll kind of work on a couple of different more designs where we have this little square stop. And then we can kind of come back and see how that looks. So in terms of kind of decorating your green cities high density residential, definitely combine them with kind of park paths and park assets. It really helps to break them up and kind of give a nice little high density surround to some of these really nice green looking assets. Of course, if you're not going with the green cities vibe, you might not want to go quite as green, but otherwise, you know, squeezing a park asset onto a corner and then mooching behind with some of your high density stuff in kind of varying combinations. Kind of get on in here, and we can maybe switch to kind of a 4x4 in this direction, and then just come through with those part paths on your angle snapping and your grid, and then just keep kind of mooching them between in various combinations. Of course, you can throw the angle here, so you're leaving space for some trees. You know, we kind of come through with some of our taller tree assets here. It'll just act as a nice little border around this particular asset. I'm kind of waiting for all these to grow up, and we'll see how it starts to come together. It's also going to add a nice little layer of surrounding height for our kind of central tram design here too. We've got some people kind of mooching through back and forth around here as well. So, you know, the more stuff you place around this tram line, the more reason that your Sims are actually going to have to come and travel and use it. Play with a couple of different designs, some assets that you wouldn't normally use, and see what you can come up with. But, you know, all this is formulated around this central tram stop, and we'll kind of move on to this one down here now and see how this one starts to look. So because we've split the tram line here into two different lines, you can do this as a roundabout as well. We'll have a look at that design in a hot minute too. I'm going to bring it up, and I'm leaving a tile of space between kind of everything here. And this is a perfect opportunity to introduce a couple of bridges. And then for this, I'm going to elevate to my highest point of 3 tiles. And draw them straight across like this. You can do it either side, it doesn't really matter which one you go for. And then just bring it down kind of on a sensible slope, one that you find appealing. Doesn't have to be kind of that length and level. And then we can bring it down here as well. You can also throw it off in this direction if you wanted to. It really is kind of up to you as to which fashion you want to take this in. And then of course we'll come through with our road guideline, so we have something to snap to whilst we're in the middle. And then we're just going to link the 2 sides together right here, like that. Okay, so people can cross over. And then there's a variety of different kind of, you know, combinations and designs that we can take this one in now as well. This is a nice slot to squeeze in some kind of repeated part life patterns with maybe a couple of cafes either side of the tram line. You can kind of get an idea for how this will work. Okay, if you do want part life assets within in the middle of the kind of the tram square, then of course you will need to make this a part life area, but bear in mind that people will walk on the tram roads, so they won't always pay to actually come in. But with these spaces, if you don't want to make it a kind of a part life area, this is a great opportunity to come through and use some of these part life tiles, and you can almost like formulate a little food court that's going to sit in the middle of your tram roundabout. Maybe squeeze in some flower beds here too, you know, go for some repeated flower kind of bed designs. Little kind of food stall here. Maybe a couple of hedges either side of it. Kind of box off the harsh edge of that kind of bottom green tile. And you can come through. Some little tables. And just decorate out the tram stop here. Now this is a great opportunity to get creative with these assets. Go for like a repeated flower bed pattern here. Obviously you'll kind of see how I put some stuff together during the time lapse. And then we'll just start to see what begins to formulate kind of around this build. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to flesh out my high density green city stuff, so it's not just kind of one row. We have kind of a couple of different rows here. Just so we can kind of see the cross section of the design here with the tram centered in the middle. So I'll be right back. And then we'll come through and kind of work on another little design for you guys to kind of take away and take inspiration from. So with all our snapping on, we want to kind of carry on our tram road here, and then we'll come to our curve tool and grab the one-way tram only road. This is a nice way to kind of end a tram line if that's what you want to do. But either way, we're going to come out with our road guideline off, and we'll come out by distance of 4, and we know we're at 4 because once we see that second blue line up here, we're at 5, so this will be 4. And then we want to curve by 4 as well. and then just make yourself a little kind of tram roundabout. If you do want to carry it on, you don't have to end it here. And of course, just carry on out of the top piece with a 2-lane tram road. And then you can have this. So, you can really, just use your imagination. Whatever shapes you can kind of think of and whatever space you have to work with. This is a great opportunity to either use like a tram roundabout, kind of a tram square, or just leave the tram stopping alongside a straight piece of the road here. There's it's such a varied and malleable build, I guess. A malleable modular build. And then we'll come through and then we'll leave some symmetrical tram stops either side here, which will allow us to do a decoration. You can be a little more kind of funky with some curved paths around the edge of this, so we'll bring our roads down. It doesn't have to be green cities. Maybe as you kind of move down this section of your city, it's a good opportunity to maybe introduce a bit of nightlife at some point around it. Then as you kind of travel down this tram line, you'll be moving past nightlife, maybe a little bit of tourism, some green city specialized stuff, maybe just regular commercial. Just endless possibilities. It's not a one style has to accompany this tram system. You can take it in any direction you want. So I might squeeze in some nightlife stuff as we come to kind of the head of the roundabout here. And then let's give myself a new district. Also, we'll go for kind of box this one in right here. And then we'll specialize in leisure specialization. Now, of course, we want to be wary, of course, that leisure produces noise. So if you are going to have leisure at this point, this is an ideal opportunity to use a park life asset just as a border. And then we can start to draw in some of that nightlife stuff that we were talking about. Again, we've kind of got one here, so we'll bring one out this way. And then feel free to kind of throw in whatever other park assets you want. Don't forget some of your tourism stuff here. And of course, you have kind of a riding stable, which is a little more of an impressive unit. And, rather than just placing it along, maybe throw the angle of it. So if we were to come up along this side and then bring our riding stable in, you can use this as a nice kind of lengthways bordering asset up against the tram system here. Get creative with the orientation of your assets as well. Don't just be placing them on the road. Draw out some supplementary support roads to switch their angle for them. And then as I'm at the end of the tram line here, I'm just going to come through with up a little kind of cornered path designs. Easier without the road guideline here. And just kind of hook everybody in. Do some terraforming in these tram designs as well. Of course, come through to our shift terrain tool. Then it's probably easier just to go to your lowest intensity. Just like a little raised mound in the middle right here. And then come through with maybe a more impressive tree. Let's see if we go for maybe one of these guys at the top. And then you can take it in more kind of an overgrown, like an old tree that's been there for many generations, or whatever justification you need for it. It doesn't have to be that. And then, just come through with a little repeated bush pattern. That's going to come through. So, you can take it in a roundabout with the centralized tree in the middle, which will look great. Mound might be a little too tall, but we can adjust that. Yeah. So this is kind of the meat and potatoes of the build, guys. Super malleable. It can be used in a variety of different scenarios. You could use a lot of your unique buildings here. For example, if you wanted to kind of make maybe like an arts and entertainment district, this is a great opportunity to be factoring in assets like the Grand Library, which will head off perfectly at the end of your tram line. You can take it, get some museums in here. Just have a look through what you've got left to use in your city, and this is a nice little design. Don't have to keep it in a straight line like this as well. Feel free to, as you leave this square station, for example, the tram line might turn off left or right. If you do want to keep it kind of totally straight and formulate everything around it, and you absolutely can. Of course, everyone's city is different, and everyone will have different spaces to kind of play with. But for me, my kind of favorite design here is certainly with the green cities stuff all around it. It really does kind of come through to make a really nice, unique area with everything kind of facing into this central tram system. So that feels like a good place to jump into a detail and time-lapse. Of course, I'm going to tidy up all these awkward spaces that we've got left around here. Bring some nice part life asset designs into these empty spaces that we've got. And then just come back through and make sure that we're kind of filling in these awkward spaces where we haven't zoned, get some trees in there, a little bit of kind of bush and overgrowth. And just kind of flesh it out to the theme that I want, really. So as always, we will be right back. Okay guys, that is going to do it for today. If you enjoyed the episode, a like below is always appreciated. Even as much if you haven't enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a dislike as well. And this is a really nice way of integrating a new tram system, or indeed carrying on an existing tram system, and factoring in kind of a variety of different themes. I've tried to show off a couple here today, of course, with green cities and nightlife, and a unique building at the head as well. But of course, you can really take this in any direction that you want, kind of working with the different shaped tram stops and decorating them, and then using that to plan out a new area. And the fence around the tram track really helps to kind of border it off and just highlight it that little bit more, which is, I guess, kind of the key theme of this build, is highlighting that central tram line. If you can think of any assets that I haven't used today or haven't even mentioned, then do feel free to drop them in the comments for other people to see, as well as myself. Yeah, super customizable build to however you want it. Take it in different angles, use different shapes, different themes, different specializations. It's really open to your own interpretation, of course. But otherwise, I will shut up and I will leave it there. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.